At first, Primordia is a very simple story. Horatio is a robot living in a wasteland, and some much bigger and scarier robots just jacked his power core. So, time to get it back, I guess? It's not until much later that the game's narrative seam rips open. Then you'll discover a rich story about the extinction of the human race, and the leftover robots who treat man like a god. But that's okay. The game is at its best when you're just soaking in the melancholic vibe of this dead world. There's a giant robot buried up to its massive shoulders in sand, a rotten corpse leaning up against a military dome, miles upon miles of irradiated wasteland. The game's graphics may be rendered in a chunky old-school resolution, but they're evocative and stylish, like the cover of a 70s sci-fi novel or the box art of some space shooter on the Amiga. They are not, however, ideal backdrops for a point-and-click adventure. These scenes are ultimately quite muddy and mushy and make it hard to pick out small details. In most scenes you'll need to scrub your finger over the screen just to see where the interactive objects are, and even then you'll have to squint to reconcile the name of the object and the image on screen. Also, the sci-fi bent means the game's puzzles are even more abstract than your typical point-and-click. You're not using a magnet on a string to collect a key, but welding together conduits with electromagnetic putty and a hunk of crystal to fix a navigation computer. It reminds us of LucasArts' The Dig, which suffered similar issues. First, you have to understand the complex systems that govern the alien landscape, and only then can you actually start solving the puzzles. And those conundrums are marred by some tricky interface issues, especially with your robot friend Crispin, who whines about not having arms, but also seems capable of lifting giant steel blocks. Puzzles are, on the whole, telegraphed to the player, and wrong answers are, in the main, met with helpful feedback to get you on the right track. Plus, in true Wadget Eye style, there are as many puzzles about interpreting data as there are about using one gizmo on another what's-it. And you won't need to call up a LucasArts hint line for help. Crispin himself gives you clues that nudge you in the right direction, both when you ask him and if you've just been wandering around aimlessly for a few minutes. Primordia is not necessarily Wadget Eye's best production. The murky backdrops and sci-fi quirks make for unusually tricky puzzles. But we did enjoy the lonely atmosphere of the wasteland, which is only broken up by Horatio and Crispin's comical bickering. As usual, the voice acting here is stellar.
I'm a floating bomb. Sweet.
Don't make this your first point and click, but if you've enjoyed Wadget Eye's other games and don't mind a few leaps of logic and a little eye strain, you'll find an evocative and enjoyable adventure game.
Who are you and what do you want? Power.